Hello and welcome to part 5 of my PlayStation 4 collection. Slightly revised format this time. I'm going to cover less games, but at the same time I'm going to show gameplay as well, so there'll actually be a bit more content really. Apologies for the time it's taken for me to get this out, mainly because I've had to record and edit some gameplay, and I've got a new laptop now, so yeah, it's just took me some time to kind of get everything together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cover 4 games, and then the 5th game I cover is going to be one that I have already covered, so I'll just cover it briefly, but then actually show some gameplay as well, because I didn't do that originally. It's one of my games from, I think it might have been from part 2. But yeah, what I'm going to do is, if I cover 5 or 6 at a time, I'm thinking that in those 5 or 6, I'll stick one in that I've already covered because I never actually showed the gameplay for. Plus it gives me a chance to actually play the games, and then I've kind of got a bit more to say about them because I had quite a few that were unopened really, so I was more just talking about why I bought them rather than what they were like as games. So yeah, without further ado, let's crack on. And the first one I'm going to cover here is one I've been playing recently actually. It is Dungeons Free. Now, if you've ever played the Dungeon Keeper games, then you've got a very good idea of what this is like. It's pretty much inspired by it. I mean, on the front it says Dungeon Keeper meets Warcraft. Yeah, Warcraft extremely watered down is how I would describe it, because in this you've kind of got your underworld, if you like, where you've got your dungeon and your dungeon heart and you build all your rooms. And then you've got your overworld where you'll kind of venture out to attack the heroes and their settlements and whatnot. So yeah, in this one, I think I paid about £15 for this. It wasn't too bad. Now you've noticed it's Dungeons Free. There are another 2 Dungeons games, but I just chose to kind of start at this series because I figured they'd have refined some of the mechanics. So you can see aside there, just get the disc. That piece of paper there is a download for the manual, and I believe it's a digital soundtrack. And the best thing about it is you get a coaster. It's not wiser. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I feel like I don't want to use it because I'll get rings on it and yeah, ruin it. But yeah, it's a nice little thing for them to throw in there. Yeah, so I have been playing this one, like I said, recently. A couple of missions into the campaign, and I've done the tutorials. I'll stick some gameplay up anyway as I chat along here. What do I think of it? Yeah, it's decent. It's decent. It pretty much is. I mean, when you talk about the dungeon mechanics, it's exactly the same as the Dungeon Keeper games. So for anyone who's not played that, you kind of dig out rooms in the rock with your little imps. Or I think they're called like snotlings or something like that in this. You'll build different rooms, you know, from like hatcheries to feed your creatures. You'll have a lair, you've got treasury, there's like a workshop so you can build traps and things like that, graveyards. There's loads of different types of rooms in this one. The one thing I would say about this is there seems to be more types of creatures you can get and more different types of rooms. And also the way you recruit creatures is slightly different. In the original Dungeon Keeper, they used to just come to your dungeon from a portal, just based on what you had in your dungeon. So like room requirements. So you had to have a room so big, you know, like a hatchery so big, and you'd get like a bile demon, just as a rough example. Whereas in this one, it's more orientated around your gold supply. So you're actually paying higher than, so that's slightly different. But yeah, it's fine, it works. And then yeah, there's the overworld style, which I guess is where they're saying it's like Warcraft. The thing is, when your minions are in your dungeon, they more just go about the day doing what they want, and you can kind of drop them in rooms to give them vague instructions, but you're not really in direct control. When you go into the overworld, it becomes like direct control. You select them, you move them around, you tell them what to attack. And yeah, it works, but it's very like, it's quite bare bones. I mean, you have a main, you can kind of pick what creatures you send to the top, and you have like a main character, a leader if you will. You don't have to send them to the top, but it's advisable really. It's like this dark elf woman. She's on the front of the game here actually, and you'll probably see her in the gameplay. So yeah, she's kind of got an array of spells. At the moment I can't actually tell that you can kind of tell her what to cast. She just kind of uses her AI. and you can level her up as well. The interesting thing is, while you're on the surface completing your objectives, the needs of your creatures still kind of stack up, so they'll get hungry, they still have to be paid, they still need sleep. So when you're on the surface, what I find is like you can kind of go for one objective, but then you've got to think, all right, maybe I'll go back now and rest them. And at the same time, it's juggling that mechanic of, okay, I'm going to take these creatures to the surface, but you've got to leave some in your dungeon, really, because while you're at the surface, your dungeon still gets raided and invaded by the heroes. Now, you can set up traps and things like that, just like in the original Dungeon Keeper, but really, you do need to leave some minions back in there. It is a decent game. I'm about 3 or 4 missions in now, I think. The narrator's does an okay job. It's like he's trying to be really funny, like the dark humour and fourth wall breaking and stuff, but for me, it was just a bit cringe. It's not bad, like, but it's also not brilliant. I don't know if they're a British studio who made this Calypso. The humour strikes me as quite British. There's a few Dragon Ball Z references in there as well. There's loads of references to other things. But yeah, it's decent. Pick it up if you can get it cheap and you kind of like Dungeon Keeper. If I'm being honest, if I had a choice between playing this or Dungeon Keeper 1 or Dungeon Keeper 2, I would still play Dungeon Keeper, I'm not going to lie. Or if I had a choice of playing this or Warcraft, it'd be Warcraft any day of the week. And I'm not even like, I've not even played a lot of Warcraft, but it's just that the surface elements, like I said, are quite basic. But all in all, yeah, definitely one worth having in your collection. But the controls are all right. It's more, if you had a mouse, and imagine it would be better, because at the moment you're using shortcuts on your pad like R2 and triangle to go to creature menu, R2 and square, room menu, and there's loads of different menus and kind of different research trees you can go down to unlock more items. So yeah, probably more optimized for the PC. But having said that, the controls, I wouldn't say the controls are bad. Like, they didn't really hinder me that much, and it's always difficult, I think, putting a game that's on PC over onto a console. It's usually tricky if it doesn't offer mouse support. Okay, on to the next game, because I'm trying to make these videos shorter, but we'll see how we go. I can always edit some stuff out. Now I've got my new fancy laptop. Right, okay, next game. This one is one that's more kind of out there that I think people know of, and it is Journey to the Savage Planet. Now this one, I don't know if it came out last year, or maybe even this year. I think it was last year. I'll show some gameplay anyway. But yeah, it's basically, if you think No Man's Sky, but it's not kind of like procedurally generated, and the whole planet is kind of like set out a certain way. So yeah, there's definitely like a story and a progression to it, and you basically go around like scanning all and discovering all the difficult animals and wildlife, and from that you can kind of get new abilities. So for example, there'll be like bomb plants that once you kind of get an extract of, because at first you can kind of just pick them up and throw them really quickly, you can only hold them for so long, like a grenade. But then when you get the actual upgrade, you can kind of then hold them in your inventory and go longer distances with them, which means you can unlock new areas. You can get like a jump pack, stuff like that. So yeah, it's pretty good. The best thing about it really is the humour. I've done another video on my channel, a drawing video from when you're in the main shuttle, you have like a hub shuttle you can keep going back to, and there's a TV on it, and there's loads of like adverts, sci-fi adverts. One of them's for this food source called Grob, which you can use as like bait for the creatures and stuff, and well, that's the only use I've found for it so far, to be honest. I'm about 50% through the game. But yeah, they're quite funny, the adverts. Like I said, I've done another video where I just kind of did a sketch of the woman in the advert, so check that out if you want. Sorry for the I filmed it all on my mobile, so it's kind of that annoying thin mobile screen like you see when they're going out catching predators and stuff like that. But yeah, it's only 2 minutes long, so check it out, don't check it out, it's up to you. But yeah, anyway, while I've been rambling on here, I've been showing some gameplay, but I've not actually shown the inside of the case as well. So here we go, here's the inside of the case. You get the disc, and you also get a bit of bubble wrap. Now, what I will say about this bubble wrap mine was all popped. So there's like no replay value. Oh wait, there's one there. Oh, there we go. Yeah, that did it. Oh, found another one. Okay, I'll have a look at that later. So you're gonna get, the game itself isn't that long. I'd say you could probably power through it in like under 10 hours. I'd say easily. But the bubble wrap, you're gonna get another solid 6 to 9 hours out of that. I'd say, providing it's not all been popped when it arrived. I need to leave some reviews on Amazon for that. I think I paid about 20 quid for that one. So yeah, it's good, decent. I'm gonna finish it hopefully within the next week or two. But yeah, I've experienced quite a bit of the game, so yeah, it's definitely recommended. Okay, on to the next game. Now this one, also another one that a lot of other people recommend, although I have something to say about this as well that I've not really heard many other people say. Sine Mora EX. Now this is, if you don't know what it is, it's a side-scrolling like shoot 'em up. I'll show some gameplay again, as with the other ones. Now with this copy, I paid about 12 quid for this. It's a good value for money at the moment, especially on the PS4. But what I was going to say was this is also available on the PlayStation Vita. And with a lot of games that are kind of on PS4 and PS Vita, or even PS3 and PS Vita, there's always going to be a downgrade of graphics. But this game on the Vita looks really good. Like I was playing it the other day because I've got it digital on the Vita, and it's perfect for handheld as well. And I was just like, wow, this looks a lot better than I thought it would. It just seems to suit that smaller screen. Now, no doubt, obviously some of the textures have been like lowered and everything, but it's really not that noticeable. And if you can get a physical copy of this on the Vita, and you've got a Vita obviously, I would recommend that over the PS4 copy. You'll probably end up dropping a bit more for the Vita because it's a little bit more collectible. But yeah, for PS4, it's going for a pretty decent price at the moment. As you can see from the gameplay, it's like a side-scrolling shooter. The kind of mechanic in this is it's more, when you take damage, you don't have like health, or it's not like one hit and you're dead. It knocks time off the actual timer at the top of the screen, so you're trying to get to the end of the stage without running out of time. Now as you kill enemies, you do get a little bit of a time bonus for every enemy you kill, so it's like try not to get hit and kill as much as you can on the screen as possible. The boss fights are a highlight of this one. They're really good. You'll have a huge boss with multiple different objects you can kind of shoot on it, like turrets and stuff, and there's some fights where it's like, the boss is a massive robot and you kind of beat one part of it, and then there's this kind of cinematic transition where you get into the next part of it, and so on and so on. Loads of different ships you can pick. There is a story in this as well. I'll be honest, I didn't pay any attention to it. I got the impression that if I was to pay attention to it, it's supposed to be quite serious and stuff, but yeah, the negative I'd say, and the reason I didn't really listen to the story, call me an idiot, whatever, but all the characters are like anthropomorphic, like furries, basically. So as soon as I see that, I'm like, yeah, I'm not bothered about the story, just if I ignore all those cutscenes and who's actually in the ship flying it, the weird flipping cheetah man, not to be confused with the game, then yeah, it's alright, it's good. I mean, the game itself, the game is really solid, and you don't really play a lot of first-person shooters for the story, to be fair. To be honest, I would say it's the best first-person shooter on the PS4, and there are a lot of not first-person shooters, you know what I mean, side-scrolling shooters, shoot-em-ups, but that is very debatable, to be fair, because there's so many shoot-em-ups on the PS4, especially all the ones that, you kind of, like Caladrius Blaze and stuff like that. In fact, they're pretty awesome. I'm going to take that back. It's not the best, but it's definitely up there. I was just talking a lot of garbage there. I just edited it all out, in case you wonder why there's a strange transition. So that's Sine Mora EX. Pick it up, yeah, it's pretty cheap, but if you can get it for the Vita, get it for that, I'd say. Or get both, if you've got the cash. So, right, next game. Now, this is one of my favourites. And this is really good. Well, at the time, people whinged a bit because they said it wasn't. value for money, but I think now it is pretty good value for money, and it's the Megaman Legacy Collection. Now the reason being was, I think on the GameCube they released something crazy, like it might have been like Mega Man 1 to 8, just on like a GameCube disc. It's pretty expensive now if you want to pick it up, but this is Mega Man 1 to 6. There is another Legacy Collection, Legacy Collection 2, which I also have, that covers 7 to 10. But this one's actually my favourite. Now, yes, you get Mega Man 1 to 6, but you also get additional content in like a challenge mode, which I'll show in the gameplay here. And also what comes with it is, obviously you get the disc, you get this like cool little Robot Master sheet, and it shows you all the Robot Masters, what guns they have, what they're weak to. You know, so if you've never played Mega Man before, and I'll be honest, when I picked this up, I played barely any Mega Man, and this is when I really started getting into Mega Man, really late on. What's good about the emulation on it as well is it's very true to the original actual, you know, the NES. It shows lag and everything where there was lag. They've even emulated that. You've got different like kind of screen modes you can kind of play around with as well. But yeah, it's very true to the originals. Also here as well, I didn't cover that. You get like a digital soundtracks download, and also yeah, you get like a few little stickers. No, I've not even opened these. Do you know what? I'm going to keep them in there for now. I feel like that's Elecman behind him, just from the feet. But yeah. So anyway, yeah. There's some gameplay which I'm probably showing to you now. I've probably edited it in at this point. Yeah, it's really good. My favourite one of the series is Mega Man 3. That's probably a bit controversial. I can see why a lot of people say Mega Man 2 is the best, because in terms of like the way it plays, and the level design, and there's not really like, it's difficult, but there's no ridiculous difficulty spikes. I can definitely see why they think it's the best. In fact, I'm kind of torn between 2 and 3, if I'm being honest with you. I really like the kind of, I can't remember what they call it. Is it like the quick shot or something like that you get in Mega Man 2? The little boomerangs you fire, because like they just have so much energy, you can just keep firing them out. Like literally, once I get that ability, it's pretty much like I use it as like instead of the standard buster. But Mega Man 3, it has some of my favourite bosses like Snake Man and stuff like that. Snake Man's probably my favourite. I don't know why, it just is. His levels are pretty cool as well. But yeah, there's also a challenge mode which I mentioned earlier. Now that is, it is what it says on the till. It's challenging. You can get different medals in it, so you can get like a bronze, a silver, and a gold medal. But to get the gold, you really have to kind of like, you're talking like close to speedrunner times to beat some of those levels. But one of the cool little features it has is you can kind of look at other people's times, and you can look at their replay of them doing it. So you can see the guy who beat the boss fight in 4 seconds, and you see how he did it. Like maybe he used a pause glitch or a zip, or you know, there's stuff like that, and you can kind of see what they do and then kind of learn from that to get the gold medals. I think I've got about a quarter of the gold medals. I might be wrong there, I might not even have that much, because like I say, they are hard. But yeah, it's really good, and there's different ones. Like you'll have the Mega Man 1 mashup, so you'll run through like kind of one screen and then it'll go to another screen, but from a different Robot Master. So it's almost like making fresh levels and cutting and chopping different bits. And there's also later on there's challenges where it mixes different Mega Man games, and you've got all the weapons to go through the levels. There's like boss rushes. It's really good. For me, it adds a lot of value to the game. Really enjoyed that. So yeah, pick that up if you can. Hopefully it's probably like maybe 15-20 quid or something at the moment. There's also an Mega Man X collection as well. I'll cover that in a different video. I don't have it on PS4. I think it was quite expensive on the PS4. I noticed it was like dirt cheap on the Xbox One, so I was like, sack it, I'll get it on the Xbox One. Maybe one day I'll have it for the PS4, but I'm not really in the habit of buying the same game twice, even if it is for different formats. Like the only exception, I said earlier with Sine Mora, I would buy that on the Vita, because I just think it's a perfect fit for the Vita. So, but you know, if you're talking like exactly the same, just either on an Xbox or a PS4. I'm not really that bothered. Yeah, okay, and on to the final game. Now this, as I said before, I was going to cover ones I'd already covered. This is Aggelos, and yeah, you get the CD, the manual, which I've shown before. Now I'll crack on with some gameplay now. There's not too much to say really that I've not already said. I did play it a bit more recently to capture quite a bit of that gameplay actually, and I got to the water temple and I had to fight the I'm stuck. It's really hard. I did mention in the early video, it's one of these games kind of like inspired by like maybe a cross between the side-scrolling Zelda and Wonder Boy. But yeah, the boss, it's like an octopus boss. Oh my days, it's hard. I am playing it on hard mode to be fair, so it's supposed to be hard. But I just got its first battle pattern down. It took me a few minutes to whittle its health down to about half health, and then it just changed the pattern, and I was just like, great, now I have to learn that all over again. And it pretty much kills you in like 3 or 4 hits. The good thing though about this game is like if you do die, you can kind of like level up as you go along, and the only real penalty for death is you lose a bit of experience. You lose 25% of your experience. Sounds like a lot, but when you're playing the game, it's really not that much. So like for example, I kept fighting the boss and kept killing me, but then every time I was coming back to fight it again, I always had a little bit more experience, even though I was losing 25%. So eventually I would level up just by keep trying, and when you level up, your defense goes up a little bit and your attack. You can also buy better equipment for your defense and attack. So for example, you can get a sword and an armor. I mentioned that previously. In fact, in the end of this video, I pick up the samurai armor, which for me is like one of the coolest looking armors. But yeah, I bet you could pick this up for about a tenner. It's old school gaming. It's just a nice little game. The music, I quite like the music in the temples. It's pretty cool. So the actual soundtrack, obviously it's like 8-bit style. It's pretty cool. It is a challenging game though, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, definitely pick that one up, have it on your radar if you're into kind of the retro stuff. That's that. I've tried to keep it shorter, and I believe I managed to do that so far. I can obviously cover another 5 or 6 games in future, and I'll just kind of chip away at it a little bit at a time. Bought some new games recently actually. In fact, I'll quickly show one here. This one just got released like without, like I saw it advertised. Little Town Hero, Big Idea Edition. The only edition you can get is the Big Idea Edition. Now I think in here, like yeah, you get a lot of stuff. I've not even opened it yet. It arrived recently. Now it got some really mixed reviews. It's by the makers of Pokemon. Call this a bonus game. It's by the makers of Pokemon Game Freak. So I was like, oh, this could be pretty good. Now I think a lot of people, from the reviews I've seen, it was very hit and miss. It's more like, well, here's what it says on the tin again, Little Town Hero. Like you just stay in the town for the whole game, and the boss fights, like, well, not even the boss fights. I think like these standard fights can last about half an hour. So yeah, it's definitely a different take on like the RPG genre. But yeah, I'll give that a play at some point. I just thought, do you know what, I'm going to pick it up because I'm not going to lie, I paid a fair bit for that. I think I paid about 40 quid, but I noticed this was the only version available, and I thought, do you know what, like, the graphics look gorgeous on it from the screenshots. It was a niche game. I thought, none of the reviews said it was terrible. It was just like, I think it's one of these games, it's either your cup of tea or it's not. But I thought, you know, for one time I thought, you know, I'm going to pick this up because I feel like down the line, like, this is going to be one of those games where everyone's like, oh, do you remember that? Because again, I've said it in previous videos, some games just like, they get advertised, like, oh, that looks cool. 6 months later, you forgot about it, you stumble across it, and you're like, oh, bloody hell, that came out. Nobody knows about it, you know. So, yeah, definitely, check it out. Check out some videos on YouTube. I think IGN gave it a pretty mixed review, but, you know, IGN are a bit hit and miss with the reviews. Some people said it was great, some people said it was rubbish, so I just thought, you know what, I'm going to find out for myself. And with all the content you kind of get with it in there, I just thought, yeah, it's worth the extra money, you know. If it was just a disc, I wouldn't have bothered. But that's literally the only version you can get. I picked mine up off Amazon. So yeah, if you're going to pick it up, I'd suggest do it sooner rather than later, because I reckon it will hold its value, that, you know. I don't think it'll go down. I might be wrong, but even if it does go down in time, it'll definitely shoot back up. So yeah, anyway, that's part 5 of my collection video. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, see you next time. Bye.